I'm gonna have to go upstairs and change.
Just go out there barefoot. 10 years old and she already has the guts to just be who she is.
I shall return.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Julio, it's 6:30 now. I'm going to start the webinar.
Good evening.
I hope everyone is enjoying the 6:30 daylight.
Yes.
I believe we have it, Julio.
Thank you. Let's wait another minute or so for folks to arrive. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the March General Board meeting. For those that may not know me, my name is Julio Peña III. I'm the chairperson of the board. Before we get started, I'd like to officially open the meeting. And I'm very glad to see that our colleague Beverly was able to join us. And I'd like to ask her for the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
justice for all.
liberty, and justice for all. Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you, Beverly. And now I'd like to turn it over to Maria for the roll call, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I am going to be doing the roll call. I will call your name, unmute yourself, say here present, and please mute yourself once again. Ramona Acevedo. Ramona Acevedo. Amel Afsal.
Present.
Thank you. Sandra Alfonso.
Present.
Thank you. Grisela Amador.
Present.
Thank you. Genesis Aquino.
Present here.
Thank you. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Gladys Bruno.
Present.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everyone.
Joseph Canale. Joseph Canale. Jerry Chan.
Present.
Thank you. Justin Collins. Justin Collins. Christina Das. Christina Das. John DeLuper.
Present.
Thank you. Beatrice DeSapio. I see.
Present.
Thank you. David Estrada.
I'm here.
Thank you. Cynthia Felix.
Here.
Thank you. John Fontillis. John Fontillis. Kin Fong. Kin Fong. Cynthia Gonzalez.
Present.
Thank you. Diana Gonzalez.
Present.
Thank you. Hector Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. Kenny Guan. Kenny Guan. Nicole Huang.
Yeah.
Thank you. John Johnston.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Beverly Kleinman.
Present.
Thank you. Waco. Waco. Barbara Lee.
Here.
Thank you. Christina Lem.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jimmy Lee.
Present.
Thank you. Lynette Lopez.
Present.
Thank you. Paul Mack.
I'm here.
Thank you. Antoinette Martinez.
Present.
Thank you. Aurelis Martinez.
I'm here.
Thank you. Marilyn Melman. Marilyn Melman. Dan Murphy. Dan Murphy. Julio Pena III.
Present.
Thank you. Rovika Rashkinshaw.
Present.
Thank you. Karen Rolnick.
Present.
Thank you. Pat Ruiz. Pat Ruiz. Damaris Santiago.
I'm here.
Thank you. Sam Sierra.
Present. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Victor Swinton.
Present.
Thank you. Cindy Vandenbosch.
Present.
Thank you. Catherine Walsh.
Present.
Thank you. Cesar Zuniga.
Present.
Thank you. Roll call has been called.
Thank you so much, Maria. First item on our agenda this evening is the adoption of the agenda. Everyone should have received the agenda along with the minutes via email last week as well as today. If there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I have a correction.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Is the executive committee, is there a vote required for executive committee today?
So there is no vote for the executive committee. There will be a vote, thank you for pointing that out, from the joint land use and executive committee meeting. So that actually is a correction. So with that correction, Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I make a motion, John makes a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Then,
Should we
second,
make a motion to change, to adopt the change and then adopt the agenda?
So with the correction, it is moved by Joan. Is there a second?
second,
That was Beverly. If there are any objections to adopting the agenda as so corrected? Seeing or hearing none, the agenda is adopted. Next item is adopting the minutes of the February 15th, 2023 board meeting, excuse me, which everyone should have also received today. Is there a motion to adopt the meeting minutes?
Yes, this is Sammy. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes of February.
So moved by Sam
Joan
Sierra,
seconds it.
seconded by Joan Body. Are there any objections to adopting the meeting minutes of February 15th via unanimous consent? Seeing or hearing none, the minutes from the February 15th, 2023 board meeting have been adopted. The next item is public comment for any item on the agenda today. So I'm going to ask First Vice Chair Cindy to share her screen. For members of the public wishing to speak on any item on the agenda this evening, you may do so now by raising your hand or using the raised hand feature on Zoom, and I will ask Jeremy to call on any member of the public who is raising their hand.
Give it another moment, but I don't see anybody yet. Okay, I don't see anybody, Julio.
Okay. Last call. Thank you. Moving right along. Let's go to committee reports. First committee up is transportation. There is no vote required, but a lot happened at the transportation committee. So I will ask the chair of the committee if there are any notable items to present or to speak from the report.
Yes, I would like to do that. So there were two meetings, but we'll just the first in order of the agenda that we all have. We'll talk about the joint meeting later that we just had on Monday. But just to start off, the Transportation Committee meeting on February 2nd. There was a presentation from New York City DOT about the upcoming BQE South revisioning efforts. The request to everyone is please come in person if you can make it Tuesday, March 21st. So that's just next week. It's at 6:30 and it's in person at PS 24. So that's a request that goes out. There were flyers that were sent out today and would ask if you can participate in that and show up and talk about, again, this is related to the BQE revisioning project and what we would like to see and the experiences that we have. It's really important that as many of us can show up in person. There will be a virtual session. It's on March 30th, also at 6:30, and you can register for that virtual session on the thank you, on the BQE revisioning page. So thanks to whoever's putting it in the chat. I do want to note that Community Board 7, we have been convening on our own effort, convening the community partners that were funded by DOT, very small amounts of funding, just to make sure that we're focused on how to benefit and get as many people engaged in this process. So it's on an exclusive list, but that includes the Chinese American Planning Association, that includes Uprose, that includes Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Corporation. These are just a few of the community partners that are also doing outreach to the community to have folks attend in person and participate in these surveys. So that's one of the big requests. Call to action is please come on Tuesday. And I do want to note in that February 2nd meeting that we again raised that there have been no presentations or engagements with Community Board 7 on these neighborhood loading zones. We raised it in the context of this BQE South work since DOT was there, asking them to please engage Community Board 7 in the neighborhood loading zones. So that was a request. It was a call to action that came from that. We still don't have kind of a clear pathway getting commitment from them. And then I also want to mention 20th Street continues to be challenges, issues on safety. 19th and 20th Street, we've raised this again. We raised it again in that context of that meeting. And we also had a community resident who came to that meeting specifically so they could talk about some of the safety issues. So again, we have an outstanding request to DOT to have a community session where we can have community residents talk about, the challenges and experiences along 19th and 20th Street. So those two are still kind of outstanding and not addressed with DOT. There's more to share and to say on other transportation issues, but those two, again, the meeting next Tuesday is really important. And then I will also just let you know that we've just gotten word that the 3rd Avenue study that this community board has been on the record and asked for more than 20 years is also going ahead. And there will be a session on April 18th and April 25th. That will also be another opportunity to send out, we've sent out flyers for that as well through the board mailing list, but just to get folks to attend and show up. And if you have ideas on getting as many people involved in those as well, would really appreciate it. So let's use this opportunity. The Community Board 7 also has a letter that we're sending out where all these community partners have signed to ask the state, New York State Department of Transportation, to show up to this meeting next Tuesday because they own the part of the BQE that is in our community and they have not committed to participation. So that's one of the major gaps and obstacles. And so that's a letter that is going to go out to the state DOT to ask them to show up. So we are pulling all of the levers possible as the community board.
Thank you, Katie, for sharing all that. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is for folks here tonight and for all of us to tell everyone to ensure that we're getting as many people out as possible to March 21st and to the virtual meeting on the 30th, because this is pretty important that we are all on the record on what we want the future of the BQE to be, as well as being super loud and super clear that the state needs to be involved. So thank you again. Does anyone have any questions? Anything else to add, Katie?
Yeah, my little post coda is that there are hundreds of people showing up in the BQE Central, which is Brooklyn Heights, Park Slope, Brooklyn Heights area. And so, we have significant number of concerns. We have a significant number of transportation issues. And so those voices are really being heard. And so that's why, I just want to emphasize thinking through how we can engage as many people as possible in our community, because Brooklyn Heights is both getting the commitment from the state to doing something, as well as the involvement, of course, from the city. But folks are showing up in mass numbers to those meetings. Antoinette might have a question.
Antoinette?
If folks aren't able to attend the meeting on the 21st, what's the best way for them to submit comment?
That's a fantastic question. They had a survey that they closed. They have there's a virtual meeting on the 30th. So I guess what I would say is if you can register and attend the virtual session on the 30th. That would be the next best option. And then we can follow up and ask them if people don't make the 30th, how else do they feed in? So Antoinette, why don't we'll take that as a follow-up. And John might have an idea. John.
I just want to add that the virtual ones, I went to the last round of virtual ones and they do record the feedback there. They actually do like Post-it notes and it's a very good system. So I hardly, if you can't make the in-person, I hardly recommend the virtual. I think they also have an additional contact info on their website. I'll look and see if I can post that in the chat or if you have additional comments on PQE issues.
Thanks, John. And thank you again, Katie. Moving on to the Housing Committee. There's no vote required, but I'll ask the chair if there are any comments to add from the report.
Hi, everyone. So just a couple of really quick comments. We held our last meeting on February 28th. We had a really fruitful conversation. It was a roundtable discussion with local electeds regarding the housing crisis here in CB7. And we also had a conversation about affordable housing creation and preservation in the district. And leading on to the next topic is that we're really looking to tackle these issues in taking a deeper dive. So on March 21st, we're actually going to be holding a housing committee meeting to reflect on the conversation that happened on the 28th, and then also to form some agenda building and setting our priorities and how to tackle and really see which topics we want to move forward as a committee in tackling. So I will be sure to make a plug for the virtual BQE meeting since there's a conflict. And I'll make sure to announce that at the beginning of the meeting in case, folks who aren't able to attend the in-person. And then I also really quickly want to make 2 additional points. The senior housing project, Sunset Ridge, that's open on Housing Connects. That lottery is set to close on March 17th. So if you know anyone who is eligible, they'll have until the 17th to apply. As a reminder, at least one member of the household must be 62 years old or older to apply. And the income eligibility requirements are from 0 to 60,000. And the household size can fluctuate from 1 to 3 people. So wanted to set out a reminder for that. And then really quickly, also want to give a shout out for a meeting that's happening on April 4th. Community Board 10 is going to be hosting a joint meeting with their environmental committee and their zoning and land use committees. And they invited Community Board 7 to attend. CB7 has sent out invites to everyone. So want to make a plug for this because it's really important and it's right on the border of our district, like literally one address over. A developer is proposing to build a mixed-use 27-story building. Just to put that into context, that is equivalent to the Bay Bridge Towers. They're 30 and 28 stories high, and this is being proposed at 27. So for this meeting, it's going to be with the Office of Environmental Remediation. So this is, I believe, the first of many conversations that are going to happen surrounding this project. Again, CB10 invited folks from CB7 if you're interested in participating. Members of the Housing Committee have expressed strong interest in raising their voices on this issue. So just wanted to amplify that here. And that's all that I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Antoinette. And I see a hand up from Pat Ruiz.
Hi, apologies that I'm late. Antoinette, what is the date of that joint meeting again?
That's going to be held on April 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm gonna ask that to be shared to the full board. Pat. Diana Gonzalez.
Yeah, just wanted to add that environment and sanitation is going to be involved in that as well, because it does involve brownfield cleanup. So there are a lot of different issues happening with that one, and definitely want to encourage as much participation as possible.
Thank you for elevating that. Thank you so much, Antoinette. So moving on to the joint committee from land use and the executive committee last week. Give me just 1 second. As some folks may know or may not know, John Fontillis has stepped down as land use committee chair. And Nick Azadian has resigned from the board due to some work conflicts. So we thank him for his service, and we can't even begin to thank John for his immense work to this board over the past years. So the last committee meeting was to meet for the grant of an authorization for a zoning resolution to allow a 3-story residential building at 155 18th Street. Currently, there is a 2-family building that is being used as a 2-family home. The proposal is to demolish and rebuild on the existing lot. Currently, the size for this of the building is about 2,000 square feet, which will be increasing to 3,300 square feet. That's approximately. It is in an M1-2D zone, which does allow for residential uses if certain conditions have been met. And if one of those conditions is if residential was pre-existing in the zone or in in the lot, which it was in this case. And if approved, construction would be slated to begin in May, if approved by DCP. Sorry, I'm just reading some of my notes. Some of the questions from the committee members specifically was that if this was a ULURP or a BSA application. This is neither. It is a authorization for continued use. Because it is in a M1-2 zone, it is authorization to seek continued use. So because it's already a residential, they're just asking to continue to use it as a residential. Another question was about notices for neighbors and in terms of construction. As per current regulations, anyone within or any homes within 400 feet need to receive 10-day prior notices. And lastly, in terms of construction, they will do their due diligence in making sure that neighboring residences and neighboring buildings are are properly secured so that there's not any instability in terms of while there's construction. After discussion, and remaining questions, the committee approved the authorization by unanimous consent. And it's being brought before the board for approval. Are there any questions? We'll start with Katie.
Just checking if there was a committee report sent out for this, and then also it on the board packet, it said 155 Street. Okay, so can you just say the address for where this is?
So it should be in the committee in the board packet. And yeah, so it's 155 18th Street. So it's a correction. Sorry, there was an error in the board packet. 155 18th Street.
Oh, so you're saying there is a okay, I'll look for it. There is a committee report?
Yes. It is page 12 of the packet.
Julio, do you want me, I'm not sure if you're seeing the other hands. Do you want me to call them?
Yes, please, because I'm trying to go between the two different screens.
Understood. I have Antoinette Martinez next.
Just out of curiosity, was curious if during the meeting, if it was discussed at all, if there were current tenants living at the property, and if they would be displaced or relocated during this construction period, and also if there was any discussion if the owner was planning to resell the property after construction.
So both those questions were asked. There are current tenants. They've been made aware of the construction and of the plans. They have been notified and I believe have been planning on relocating for some time. So are aware of the plans. And the owners plan on living in the rebuilt home for, I don't know how long, but they plan on living there in the new home.
I have Diana Gonzalez next.
Yeah, so with the square footage increase, is that just going to be adding height, or are they planning on extending the depth of the building?
I think it was height. They can't, I don't know like the right verbiage, but they can't add any more to the lot. It's pretty limited as to what they can add.
Thank you.
Were
There
there
are no additional hands up.
Thank you, Jeremy. So this came out of the committee, so there is no motion needed. And would there be any objection to passing this via unanimous consent? Okay, we can do a roll call vote. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do a roll call vote.
Sorry, I just had a clarifying question. I didn't raise my hand in objection. If this is something that's being passed, I'm just curious why this is going through the board. Like, what does us, moving this forward, just curious what that would do for in this instance.
So this would grant the authorization, it would grant the zoning authorization for them to continue the use of the zoning resolution.
And Julio, in truth, community boards have no role in this process. We just ask them to make a presentation for the public, and at the meeting, they ask us for a vote.
There you go.
Shall I start with the roll call?
Sure, if there are no other questions.
Seeing none, folks, I'm going to mute everybody. I am going to call the roll for a vote. If when I call your name, please unmute yourself, share your vote, and then mute yourself again. Let's start with Ramon Acevedo. Amel Afzal. Amel Afzal. Sandra Alfonso.
Yes.
Thank you. Griselle Amador.
Yes.
Thank you. Genesis Aquino. Genesis Aquino. Joan Body.
Yes.
Thank you. Gladys Bruno.
Yes.
Thank you. Joseph Canali. Joseph Canali. Jerry Chan.
Yes.
Thank you. Justin Collins. Justin Collins. Christina Das. Christina Das. John DeLuper.
Yeah.
Thank you. Beatrice DeSapio.
Yes.
Thank you. David Estrada.
Yes, I'm here.
How are you voting on this?
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. Cynthia Felix.
Yes, for me.
Thank you. John Fontillis.
Yes.
Thank you. Kin Fung.
Yes, and also blessing.
Thank you. Cynthia Gonzalez. Cynthia Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you. Folks, this is not the time for roll call. Maria will call it again. This is just time for voting. Diana Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you. Hector Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you. Kenny Guan. Kenny Guan. Nicole Huang. Nicole Huang. John Johnston.
Yes, here.
Nicole, I'm sorry, John, one moment. Nicole, how are you voting? Nicole Huang,
Yes.
how are you voting on this?
I don't decide yet.
I'll get back to you. John Johnston.
Yes.
Thank you. Beverly Kleinman.
Yes.
Thank you. Wyco. Wyco. Barbara Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Christina Lem.
Yes.
Thank you. Jimmy Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Leonette Lopez.
Yes.
Thank you. Paul Mack.
Yes.
Thank you. Antoinette Martinez.
Yes.
Thank you. Aurelis Martinez.
Yes.
Thank you. Marilyn Melman.
Yes.
Thank you. Dan Murphy. Dan Murphy. Julio Pena III.
Yes.
Thank you. Rovika Rajkishan.
Yes.
Thank you. Karen Rolnick.
Yes.
Thank you. Patricia Ruiz.
Yes.
Thank you. Damaris Santiago.
Yes.
Thank you. Sam Sierra.
Yes.
Thank you. Victor Swinton.
Yes.
Thank you. Cindy Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Thank you. Catherine Walsh.
No.
Thank you. Cesar Zuniga.
Yes.
Thank you. Amel Afzal,
Yes.
thank you. Nicole Huang,
Yes.
thank you.
Jeremy, Mel put something in the, oh, sorry.
Lost my count. Motion carries 35 yes, 1 no, no abstention.
For the record, let's add Amel's yes vote.
I called her again. I came around.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
The same with Nicole.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to the committees for that. Excuse me. I'll spare you from a cough. So moving to the executive committee meeting, there is no vote required, but we did meet last week. I feel like I'm having a hard time remembering dates lately. Did discuss committee membership, leadership, and just overall how we can best support committees, committee chairs, and individual board members. So do stay tuned on some updates on that. There will be another executive committee meeting next week, and I will be working on another executive committee meeting sometime in late April to talk further about how to best support committees. It is something that I am thinking about, as particularly as we will be welcoming some newer board members in the coming months, potentially as many as 10 to 12 board members, new board members. So stay tuned on that. Any questions from the committee, from the executive committee minutes? Antoinette?
So one question for the executive committee is, what are plans to fill the vacancies of chair and co-chair for the land use committee?
There aren't any updates as of yet.
So is there nothing in the bylaws that say how long a committee chair and co-chair vacancy can be held for?
They're silent on vacancies. So no.
Okay, yeah, it just seems as though there were vacancies for those two seats for quite some time, quite a couple of months. And just seeing this meeting that's happening on April 4th, I think it would be good to have the land use committee members involved in that meeting in some way if they have capacity, because that's a huge land use issue.
I agree. The committee members will absolutely be invited. So that's notwithstanding committee leadership. Katie?
I just wanted to share that one of the challenges that I'm sure that you talked about was related to having people come to the committee meetings. And so I think that's just, if you're in a committee, being able to go and show up for those, since that's where a lot of the work is happening. But one of the things that I think we're we did this past week was have combined committee meetings, and then that really helps also have people show up. So I think that was another thought to just offer to the discussion is come to the committees that we're in, and then, you know, combining meetings, I think is also helpful as an idea.
Thank you, Katie, for that. That is something to think about. Moving on to the last committee, and speaking of joint committees, was a joint committee of not 2 committees, but 3, the Transportation, Health and Human Services, and Sanitation and Environment committees. There was no vote, but it was a lively discussion, and I'll turn it over to the chair and vice chairs from the committees if there's any pertinent items from that joint meeting.
So I've had the mic a lot this meeting, so if any of the other chairs would like to, Diana, if you would like to speak, or that'd be great.
I'd like you to lead it off because I'm on 2 Zooms right now.
Okay, I'll go fast. And then if any of the other, we had a joint committee meeting between those 3. We had a presentation from the state Department of Environmental Conservation on a study that they're doing related to air quality. And for the past 3 months, the state has had hybrid vehicles driving around parts of our district and other parts of Brooklyn, 3rd Avenue, BQE, 4th Avenue, measuring air quality. So this was a presentation on preliminary findings to date of those 3 months, and showing us what PM 2.5 looks like, which is the small particulate matter that causes, you know, issues related to asthma, lung cancer, respiratory issues, all the problems that we face in this community. They're hoping in the end, after 9 more months, that they'll be able to, by way of having the data, show us what we know and experience, which is that we have these high rates. You know, this is work that has happened before with other health studies, but this was a presentation from the state to the community board. There were lots of different questions asked. You can look at the minutes that are very telling with the slides and the PowerPoint. And then we had a second part of the presentation, which was from community organizing that's happening in Red Hook on both air quality, noise sensors, and traffic sensors, with a presentation to start ideas about what it would look like if there wanted to be an effort in Sunset Park on those topics. So that's why we brought together the 3 committees, since it touches on health and air and transportation environment.
Yeah, I would just add that in terms of the state study, we're not actually going to have the full data available until when the study is over, because it's at that point that they'll actually sort of triangulate all of the data, but it is a very significantly sized study. And by having these sensors on vehicles, they're able to cover a much broader area than are typically covered by air quality sensors. And then after that, there will be a process of community engagement in which people on the community advisory committee are able to propose mitigation plans. And there's some money behind it to actually implement those mitigation plans. So this is actually a really cool opportunity, not just to study what's going on in our community and know what's wrong, but actually do something about it. And they're very proactively recruiting members for the community advisory committee. And this is a really exciting opportunity to participate in. In terms of the Red Hook community program, in order to expand, the thing that they need is they need to be able to put sensors, like actually attach them to buildings. And that's the really key thing there. So there was, some discussion of partnering with schools, but obviously the jurisdictional issues with attaching something to a building when you're dealing with the DOE get very complicated. So if anyone, owns a building and doesn't rent and thinks it'd be cool to measure what's going on in their area, this is a great thing to do. It also, I think you mentioned the air quality and traffic and stuff. It also measures, there's also vibration sensors, since that actually has really significant impacts. So we heard about a lot of really great stuff that's happening and ways for people to get involved that, I hope everyone thinks about jumping in on.
And Neighbors Helping Neighbors received the grant from Fifth Avenue Committee, Neighbors Helping Neighbors received the grant from the state to get trained on the air quality data. So they already are getting trained on that and have access to it. And then they're planning on rolling it into their educational workshops that they run. So they'll have, in our community, they'll have, they will have, if they don't already, access now to the data related to this study.
Thank you. Thank you all. And I'll just add, I've just in terms of the neighborhood air quality project, I had an opportunity to see on the ground the work that they're doing in Red Hook and in like my other capacities. And I was completely blown away by the work that they're doing. Like, this is like community level work and community level data that like people dream about. And it's pretty powerful to see that kind of work being done, and it's pretty impactful. And like, I would love to see something like this happen in our neighborhood, especially considering all that we've been talking about just along Third Avenue and just like last mile trucking and all. It's pretty amazing what they're doing, and definitely great to see a lot of linkages happening. So it's great that this is getting out and that people are learning about it. Any questions for the joint committee meeting minutes? Alrighty then. Moving on to our second roll call of the evening.
Okay, board members, I will be calling the names of the board members that were not present at the first roll call. Ramona Acevedo. Joseph Canale. Justin Collins. Christina Das. John Fontillis.
I'm here.
Thank you. Ken Fung.
I'm here.
Thank you. Kenny Guan. Wei Ko.
Yes.
Thank you. Marilyn Melman.
I'm here.
Thank you.
All right.
Dan Murphy. Pat Ruiz. Pat Ruiz. Okay, second roll call called.
I'm here.
Okay, I have you.
Thank you, Maria. Moving on to the elected officials and representatives, I will turn to Natasha.
Good evening, everyone. Edward Cerna from Council Member Avilas's office. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Edward Cerna here, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Alexa Avilas. I want to start today by talking about the budget. The City Council has been engaging various city agencies on the preliminary budget. From our view, there are some clear high-level patterns, namely that almost every agency is being cut and or having vacant positions terminated. And this materially impacts service delivery and our constituents. I bring up an example of HRA. The preliminary budget is saying that they're going to cut vacant positions there when every single day we see constituents come into the office, voicing concerns around delays on processing times for renewals, new applications, and then that translates into delays in benefits, which again, if someone doesn't have enough money to make ends meet, that means they don't have food for their family. So we're gonna keep the community updated as the budget process continues onward, but would highly encourage folks that if you have the opportunity to go onto the council's website, look at the upcoming schedule of hearings and testify. Some of the committees that are coming up is health, public safety, youth services, hospitals and parks and recs, and that'll all be next week. Connected to that, tomorrow, or actually at Monday, March 20th at 10 a.m. at the steps of City Hall, there's going to be an action from being organized by Councilmember Chiosei, where there'll be representatives from the Brooklyn, Queens, and New York public libraries. The mayor is proposing a cut to the libraries, and as we know, just from the experience we're having here in Sunset Park and in Red Hook, that these systems need money. They don't need cuts, they need money. And so encourage anyone again who can make it on Monday at 10 a.m. to turn out. Antoinette covered the senior affordable housing deadline that's coming up on Friday, so I thank her for doing that. On Friday, March 17th, NILAG, we've been having a partnership with NILAG where they bring out a van and community members can go and meet with a lawyer around their legal needs. That'll be this one will be for Chinatown. Today was the one that we have in front of the office, but we're going to have one on Friday in Chinatown, and it'll be at the southwest corner of 60th Street, and that'll be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Katie, John, and Julio, I want to thank them for all the work they're doing on the BQE, and we spent some time on that at the beginning of the meeting. But I also just want to flag that this Saturday, March 18th at 10 a.m., there will be a BQE South walkthrough and talk series that's being organized by Transportation Alternatives. The initial meeting point will be Cough Triangle Park by the Buttermilk Channel, but again, it'll be focused on the southern portion of the BQE. And so I'll leave it at that. I just want to underscore what Katie said about folks turning out for Central, right? We know that whatever happens in Central is going to have impacts on the southern portion of the BQE, and the designs that I see for them include this amazing like greenway connector that is going to connect the Heights to the waterfront, and it's going to be eco-friendly and all this stuff, and that's good. But again, what is happening for us? Like, what is materially going to improve our condition and lives here in South Brooklyn? And that's what, you know, us in the council and other folks are talking about. So again, I'll leave it at that. Thank you, everyone, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Edward. Any questions for the council member's office? Seeing and hearing none. Thank you so much, Mr. Cerna.
Thank you, Chair.
Next is Melissa Safi from Senator Gurnard's office. Melissa, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Sorry, the unmute button was a little bit delayed, that's why. My name is Melissa Safi. I'm the community liaison for Senator Gurnard's office. So just a brief overview of our legislative updates. So regarding the Working Families Tax Credit, the Senator's Working Family Tax Credit bill passed out of the Budget and Revenue Committee and will proceed to a floor vote. If passed into law, the WFTC will provide financial relief to all families with children aged 0 to 23. The new deal for CUNY, last week the Senator rallied with CUNY students to fully fund CUNY to ensure the opportunity and accessibility of a higher quality education to all New Yorkers. I know that we already, a lot of people already mentioned this, but just to reiterate, the BQE is having their BQE South walk and talk this Saturday, March 18 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's really important for everyone to get out there and to attend these events and just to provide your feedback on, you know, the revisioning of the BQE. The tour will begin at the Cough Triangle near the Smith 9th Street station and finish in Sunset Park. And then the BQE South workshop in person will take place on March 21st from 6:30 to 8:30. And then the BQE workshop that's virtual will take place on Thursday, March 30th from 6:30 to 8:30. And the Third Avenue study workshops will be taking place all throughout the month of April. And just a few points on our office, you know, as usual, would like to say that we're open from Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Our office is located at 8018 Fifth Avenue in Bay Ridge. I'll drop my email in the chat box like I usually do. And we are having our mobile office hours, and they're taking place in the Brooklyn Heights Public Library. Wednesdays, the next ones are April 12th and April 26th. And we were supposed to be moving, but that's on pause until further notice. So hopefully I'll get an update by the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Any questions for the senator's office? Bless you to my cat. No questions. Thank you so much.
John Watkins from the District Attorney's Office. John, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Watkins from Eric Gonzalez, our Brooklyn District Attorney, who sends us well wishes. And I'm just wanting to cite a few recent things that have been developments in our office. And as always, you can find what I'm going to read off to you in our website, brooklyndA.org. If you go and click on the news and press releases tab, you'll find a wealth of information about the proceedings of the Brooklyn DA's office, and most importantly, the result of the hard work that DA Gonzalez and his ADAs are doing each and every day. It's just starting off this week, the Brooklyn District Attorney moved to vacate the wrongful conviction of an unfortunate man who spent 18 years in prison that was based on a mistaken identification. Now, the DA and his team are constantly working to resolve and sort of adjust and adjudicate these wrongful convictions. We have an office specifically dedicated to this. And so this is an ongoing thing. And this person is yet another person, another victim of a wrongful conviction who, thank goodness, has now been released back to freedom and hopefully to healing. Next, the Brooklyn DA announced yesterday about Manhattan resident and defendant Randy Jones of East Harlem, who has been arraigned and indicted. And this person is charged with murder, attempted robbery, and other crimes for the recent killing of off-duty NYPD officer Adid Fayez. Jones, the defendant, is being held without bail and will be returned to court to answer for this heinous crime on May 17th. And so again, that's something that, of course, was extremely unfortunate. And we always, our hearts break when our officers, fall victim to these types of crimes. And finally, the Brooklyn DA cited and gave his thanks for the NYPD officers who recently, about a month ago, for their heroic saving of the lives of children in our own neighborhoods in Sunset Park. If you recall the recent U-Haul truck rampage that literally ran down some people off on the sidewalk. And these officers, were heroes and really helping to save the lives of kids who were in the area. And finally, please go to our website, brooklyndA.org, and you will also find a lot of the community efforts that the DA is doing, such as the cultural events that we've done. This month, it will be our celebrating of Women's History Month. So you can find updates on that and everything else on our website. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you, John. We have just a few questions, I believe. Jeremy? You're muted, Jeremy.
John, I didn't put it in my report because I assumed it was going to be in your report, but there was a conviction this month from the death of the construction worker.
Yes.
On Avenue. Would you like to mention that?
Let's see here. Is this the? Let me look at my note here because I did have. I didn't want to take up too much time. The conviction of. Let's see. Reading through my scroll.
It was the developer and I believe the construction manager died on 7th Avenue and 39th Street.
Okay.
And, I believe the
yes
worker
I have it here.
I believe that was it 2018?
Yes, was it Luis Sanchez, the construction worker? Actually, the conviction, there was a conviction of for criminal negligence and homicide of the death of this unfortunate construction worker, Luis Sanchez, and that was is that the one that was in 2018 who was crushed to death, unfortunately. There have been some others as well, and we're definitely keeping note of that. And again, on our website, under our news and press releases, there are multiple of these cases that are being adjusted or released every day. And so, but thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
No problem. We had spoken about that at that meeting back in 2018. So I want.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Luis Sanchez is the unfortunate construction, and as always, and this is why it's so important for people to go to our website and to check out the press releases and also other news items. Each and every day, there are crimes that are occurring in our community that are on the news for 5 minutes and then it's gone. But these cases will take many, many months and years, as we've seen. This incident with the construction worker took place in 2018. That's many, many years. And so finally, there has been justice brought for that. And so, unfortunately, these things go off our news cycle, but please know that the DA and his team are constantly working on it. And these are cases that are being brought to the various courts each and every day.
Thank you, John. Cynthia Gonzalez.
Yes, my only question is, how many cases of wrongful convictions does the district attorney have on his desk at this time?
That I really could not answer for you. They are ongoing, and I do know that it's our division that is dedicated to, I believe there are like a total of almost a dozen ADAs who are charged with these wrongful convictions. And that's something that I can look into for you. I know that it's these cases are brought forth and are discovered each and almost every week. There's always some new person that has been identified as being wrongfully convicted. But I definitely will have a number for you next month for that. I'm making a note of that now.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And lastly, Pat Ruiz.
Hi, John. I don't know if this is a question for you or our local precinct, but I was curious as to whether we have any updates on the shooting and possible arrest of the students at the Sunset Park High School. And also any updates. I heard on the news yesterday about seniors being robbed in Sunset Park. One was actually, I think, hit with a gun or something, but I'm curious if that's in your office or that would be a local precinct question.
Well, I would say both, but in particular, the specifics could certainly be gotten from, I believe it would be the 72nd precinct. However, I am very aware of the student shootings as that happened on 39th Street and 8th Avenue, which is literally just a couple blocks from where I live in Sunset Park. And so I have contacted the 72nd to find out kind of what is being the ongoing investigation of that, but I have not received any direct feedback yet. And oftentimes, because these things are recent, the information is slow to be released to even, I mean, unless I was like one of the ADAs myself, which I'm not, but I will investigate that as well. But in terms of the senior that was unfortunately assaulted, I don't have any information on that, but I will look into it.
Yeah, I am concerned because I believe it was 2, and
okay.
And that just concerns me with, I consider myself.
You faded out there, and yeah. And so, what was the date that occurred, so I can check on that?
I heard it on the Eyewitness News yesterday, so I believe it must have happened these past couple of days.
I'm sorry. Is anyone else having trouble hearing Pat at all?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I am too.
Pat, you're
Yes,
coming
I
in.
am also.
She goes, the sound is funny.
Can you hear me?
Pat, can you speak up just a little bit louder? Your audio is just a little bit low.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I
Better.
can hear you. Yes, yes.
Okay, what didn't you hear? I guess let me just say, I heard it on the news yesterday in reference to the 2 seniors. I am concerned because we do have a number of seniors, of which I consider myself one. And
Okay.
having to go back in person, I mean, what's being done? Is there more police presence? I don't know if that's you that would answer it or a local precinct, but I am concerned for myself and the others.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for the question. That I think would fall more directly to the precinct in terms of the resources that are being put into the community to, to protect the community in terms of these various situations. But the DA's office is always involved, especially once people have been apprehended and then are being arraigned and then prosecuted in court. But I've made a note of this as well, and we'll check on it in terms of finding out more details. Each and every day, I'm always before I start my job, I'm usually looking at the news, the various, no matter if it's News 12 or online with the New York Daily News or the Post, and I see a lot of things that are going on in Brooklyn in our immediate community in Sunset Park as well, but also throughout the entire city. But thank you for bringing that to my attention, and I will definitely check on it.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next, I have Myra Molina from Congressman Goldman's office. Myra, please unmute yourself.
Hi everyone, how are you guys? I hope you're having a great evening. I just wanted to point out that our community project funding deadline is upcoming on Monday, March 20th at 9 a.m. It's been extended. So if you know of any community organizations that are planning on funding or you still want to spread the word out, please do so. Also, for the district update, we're having, this month is a kickoff of a congressional art competition. So the winning piece will be hung up in the Capitol Hill complex for a year. And I'm hoping that we can get a lot of applications from local schools in Sunset Park. Regarding legislative updates, Dan announced the Early Voting Act as his first bill in Congress, which would require at least for 14 days, a 14-day window of an in-person early voting for federal elections across the country. That would also mean maximizing polling place accessibility, and it would take steps to address unacceptable long wait times for voters. Dan has also co-sponsored on the Asylum Seeker Work Authorization Act. Within the past few months, or at least a year, we've been receiving a lot of migrants in capacity, and they don't have an opportunity to work due to the fact that they don't have a work permit. So Dan is trying to take action with that and trying to reduce the wait time for the asylum seekers to apply for a work permit. For the meeting on Tuesday, we've been in contact with CB7 and other local elects regarding the BQE. The BQE meeting and what's being done on 3rd Avenue. So we recently reached out and we'll be canvassing this upcoming Monday to amplify that event, and we'll be canvassing from 3 to 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Myra. Any questions for the Congress member's office?
Yes, could she repeat the voting part? I didn't hear it. The first part of her, yes, thank you.
So Dan announced the Early Voting Act. This was his first bill in Congress. This would just maximize the amount of days for early voting to a 14-day window, and it would also maximize polling place accessibility so that more voters can have different places to go vote on.
Thank you, Myra.
Thank you. One more thing, also regarding constituent casework. We've recently made a flyer where we have a QR code and it takes you straight to the privacy release form. I know it can be a little tedious, and I want to remind that a privacy release form is required for us to even review the case. However, we're trying to make it more accessible to constituents and hopefully be working more closely with other local elects in Sunset Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emmett Scalar from the Public Advocate's Office. Emmett, you can unmute yourself.
Hey everyone, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm new to CB7, but I see a lot of familiar faces, and it's great to be with you all tonight. Just a couple quick updates from the Public Advocate's Office. First, we recently called on the state to pass the Access to Representation Act. So for the folks who are familiar with right to counsel, which gives people an attorney, a right to an attorney in housing court, this would provide a right to counsel and a right to an attorney for those going through the immigration process in immigration courts. So something that's super important to making sure that folks have representation. We also recently released an Invest in Education report, and that's paired with a rally and budget hearing that we joined just this week, calling for greater investment in our schools. I won't go through all the details. You can find the report online, but some of the top line items calling for 500 social workers, more social workers, calling on every school to be provided with a nurse, and a few other major investments, which I'll provide a link to after this. On top of that, just a reminder to folks, I'm sure you've heard it before, the city is offering free filing services for your taxes, and that's also paired with an expanded earned income tax credit. So if you're a filer who's using those services, they'll definitely tell you about it, but make sure to access all the resources at your disposal during this tax season. And finally, folks sometimes don't know it, but just like your local council member, we too have a constituent service department. So please, please, please don't be shy about reaching out to our office. We have a large team that can be really helpful managing all sorts of issues, whether you're a tenant or you're trying to navigate the public school system for your kid, that sort of thing. We're here to help. So please reach out with any questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Emmett. Any questions for the Public Advocate's Office? Cynthia Gonzalez.
Yes, my question refers to the right to an attorney. Is the right to attorney only focused on housing court? I mean, does it have to be a housing issue? And what exactly does that involve? I mean, you know, like when somebody comes, whether it's a tenant, whether it's a landlord, comes to this arena, what are they entitled to in terms of representation, in terms of advice? What does this involve?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So right now in our city, you have a right to counsel in housing court. So if you make under a certain amount, you have the right to an attorney to help you navigate those services. And we know that process. And we know that's important because folks who have access to an attorney and representation are far less likely to be evicted through the housing court process. And because we know everyone ought to have an attorney in our legal system. The instance that I was mentioning was a rally calling on the state to pass a similar bill, which would provide access to representation for those who are going through the immigration courts. I myself am not a housing expert, so I don't want to delve too deep into what you're providing an attorney for and not, but I see someone's thrown a link into the chat, and there are lots more details there. And if you have a question, put it to me in writing, and I'll make sure our team gets back to you.
Yeah, well, my question starts with, is this only available to immigrants? Because you keep saying that word. So like, let's say a landlord has a problem. Does that landlord get free, representation if their income is below that amount? I mean, like, what is this about? I would like to know that, because it's not just tenants that go through problems. Property owners have problems also that they can't afford to bring to court because they can't afford it.
Sure. So if you give me your contact info, I can make sure someone from our team follows up on that.
Well, I don't know, Jeremy, can you give him my contact information, or how do I do this?
We'll share it with him, Cynthia. We'll share it with him.
Okay, and who am I speaking with? Can you provide like a
I'll
link?
put my information in the chat. This is Emmett from the Public Advocate's Office.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, Emmett.
I do have a question on that vein. Hi. I don't know, do you know anything about local law 97? Hello? Anybody out there?
Sorry, is that for me still?
Yes. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm not super familiar with that. Sorry.
Okay, so I'll bring it up at the end of the meeting. Okay.
That is a good point. My building itself is talking about local law 97.
Oh, it's gonna be a disaster.
But maybe that's something we can work on separately, Marilyn.
Okay, I would like that.
That's a good point to bring up. Thank you.
Emmett Mendoza Gaspar from Assemblymember Mateus's office. Emmett, please unmute yourself.
What's going on?
Hi, hello.
Emmett?
Try that again,
Yes,
Emmett.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Me? Perfect. Hey everyone, this is Emmett from Assemblymember Mateus's office. Hi, Emmett from Public Advocate's office. Nice to meet you. So I want to give a couple of updates first legislatively. As many have seen or may not know, the Assembly One House budget proposal was just recently announced yesterday, along with the Senate One House, which is our response to the governor's budget. I do want to share that a lot of our team's legislative parties, as well as a couple of our bills, were included in the Assembly majority, which we're happy to share. First off, in regards to housing, the Assembly and the Senate have proposed to include the good cause eviction writing protections along into their one houses. We're also including rental assistance, refueling the ERAP program for a total of about $385 million, which would also include access for people who are in public housing or subsidized housing like Section 8 as well. Our bill, the 10 Opportunities Purchase Act, was also included in the Assembly One House with a fiscal ask of $250 million, which would give tenants the ability to make the first offer and the right of refusal to purchase their buildings, which will create a path for ownership for working class families. At the same time, the Housing Actors Voucher Program was also included, which will give housing subsidies to folks who are currently in the justice system or on the brink of eviction. We put in $250 million for our ask. In regards to transportation, our budget rejected the governor's proposal to increase fares, and we're mandating to include sufficient funding to close the gap and keep the prices of the fare at $2.75. At the same time, we're also including funding to bring in the first of its kind in the state, a free bus program, targeting most neediest neighborhoods first before expanding to other parts of the state. In regards to education, we're rejecting the governor's call to increase the cap or lift the cap on charter schools, as well as increasing tuition hikes for students in uni and student schools. In regards to energy, we're proposing the inclusion of the Build Public Renewables Act, which will empower the entity, your power authority, to expand and build renewable energy, which will help bring in a lot more affordable gas and energy utilities for people in the state. Lastly, we want to give thanks to Senator Bernardis for also championing the child tax credit, which will help to provide alleviation to a lot of working class families. In regards to SNAP, we're including $2 million to help reimburse families or households who have faced fraud for practices such as SNAP. An update on the BQE, our office with other elected offices met with DOT State Commissioner, DOD State Transportation Commissioner Gonzalez, as well as the DOT Budget Director, Catherine Garcia, advocating for the priorities that our community has had in regards to the future of the BQE. Unfortunately, the Budget Director, as well as the Commissioner, have continued to hold their stance, saying they are only going to participate as long as they are able to release their environmental impact study first, which they didn't give us an exact date. Our elected officials made the person ask of inviting the commissioner or a member of the team to participate in the upcoming in-person meeting that we're having in South Brooklyn. Let us know that we're going to continue to actively push the state to participate and be a partner with the city as well as the community board members, and making sure that we're actually able to get them to become actual participants, not just in regards to just like reporting back to the city, but actually committing to concrete next steps in order to help address our situation with BQE. The
Emmett,
last thing I do
I'm
want
gonna
to share.
pause you for a second. Your audio is coming in and out pretty garbled, and there's a lot of background noise. So I'm just gonna ask you to speak up a little bit.
Sure. I'm in the street right now. And the last thing I do want to share is that our office hours has been expanded, so we're doing walk-ins, walk-through constituent services Mondays through Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Our office is open Mondays through Fridays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you guys have any constituent service questions or inquiries or any issues regarding state agencies, we are here to help. I will drop in my information in the chat as well so that you guys can follow up with me, someone from the office. Thank you. Or any questions?
Thank you, Emmett. We do have a question from Karen Rolnick.
Do you have any written summary of what you just told us that you can send me? Because I am the secretary, and last month it took me about a month to an hour to sort through your audio. We can't hear it. So if you send me,
I could definitely send you something right afterwards.
And could you do us a favor and please try to do something about your audio before the next meeting if you could? I would appreciate that. Thanks.
I will try my best. I hope that I am able to get better audio next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. We do have a question. I do have a question about the one budget resolution that was passed earlier this week. I noticed that there was a municipal parking permit that was introduced that kind of came out of nowhere. And I was wondering if the assembly member had any information about that, or if that was a priority that the legislature was looking to move forward on, or if you had any additional information on that.
That recently became, and thank you, Chair Julia, for sharing that. That recently did become an item that popped up with a couple of inquiries to our office. I can say that when the assembly majority was conversing, that did not come up. We know that a couple of elected offices also reached out. We're going to look into it and we'll be happy to follow up once we get a response on that.
Thank you, Emmett.
I have one comment. Though I didn't hear a lot of what you said, but one thing I did hear you say was you're against charter schools. Now, a lot of parents want them for their children. Why are you against them? Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Just want to restate and also want to say that I didn't say that our office was against charter schools, just that the lifting of the charter schools caps is a top priority. The reason why we are against lifting the charter school caps is because at the moment, just based on the data that has been presented, there have been a lot of inconsistencies with the success rate, statistics, as well as graduation rates that have been shared to us from the charter schools compared to the information that we're seeing from the Department of Education. But I am more than happy to also follow up with you individually to get a much more detailed response to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmett.
Next, I have Mon Yuk Yu from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office. Mon, please unmute yourself.
Sorry, I also saw a question on the chat from Gabino, I think. I could respond to him.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, so his question is in regards to the minimum wage. So I do want to add that in regards to the minimum wage, there is language in the One House Assembly, which basically follows the bill from Assemblymember Joyner and Senator Jessica Ramos, which is to raise the minimum wage, as well as tie it to the rate of inflation. At the moment, the governor has only proposed to tie the new minimum wage to the rate of inflation. Our proposal has to increase to 21.25, I believe, but I'll type in the correct amount in the chat.
Thank you, Emmett.
Hi, everyone. This is Manyak Yu from the Office of the Brooklyn Borough President. So I have a couple of updates from our office tonight. One, I want to thank everybody for sharing information about our fiscal year 24 capital funding applications, as well as our community board applications. Applications have closed at the moment for fiscal year 24 capital funding, the Borough Culture Grant, community boards, and community and citywide education councils, or CECs. So again, thank you everyone for spreading the word about that. However, we are still accepting applications for discretionary grant applications, which are accepted year round. So if you have any questions about that or know of an organization that would be interested, feel free to have them contact me and I can refer them to the right person from our office to speak to. I also want to share some events that our office has been holding and will be holding in the upcoming month. In February, we launched our Community Resource Information Series, and this is the first session. The first session of the series was presented by New York City HRA and the Department of Social Services, or DSS, and we discussed resources for cash assistance, employment services, child support services, homeless prevention, and more. Moving forward in March, on March 23rd, we are looking to partner with DOHMH, or the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, on a RAT Academy. That would be the second session of our series, and that would focus on safe and effective methods for rat prevention in homes, buildings, and our communities. So certainly happy to send along more information on that, but would really encourage you to share that information back with your community, since we know that sanitation and rodents are a huge issue within our communities as well. In March, we will also be celebrating Women's History Month on March 30th with a storytelling session or a storytelling event. So again, happy to share additional details on that. And I'm happy to also loop you in with work with our communications team to ensure that you have access to our newsletters so that you can receive this information on a timely basis. In February, we also celebrated Black History Month with our Brooklyn is Africa event, which was a public art exhibit that showcased art from Africa. It was very well attended with 250 individuals attending. We also hosted a Dominican Independence Day parade celebration with Councilmember Sandy Nurse, the Dominican Consulate in Brooklyn for All. And then on the BQE, I know that there's been a lot of discussion during this meeting about the BQE and especially contention regarding the state DOT's involvement. On February 13th, the BP convened other elected officials and community groups in Williamsburg to condemn New York State for refusing to partner with DOT, with New York City DOT, to re-envision the BQE. And this is a very important issue for us. We know that Sunset Park Community Board 7 has really suffered disproportionately because of the BQE, especially with the burden that it creates for low-income communities and communities of color. We know that it brings heavy traffic and toxic pollution, particulate matter, and resulting in high rates of asthma, especially in Sunset Park. So we are here to stand with all of you and welcome you to reach out to our office if you need additional support for any advocacy efforts. But we are aware of the event that's happening on Tuesday. Really hope that the New York State DOT will be attending, and we'll also be supporting upcoming events on QE as well. And then finally, just want to uplift our constituent services team. We are here to advocate for you and contact city agencies on your behalf if there is a need. Our constituent affairs team is available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'll drop in the phone number and email address into the chat for your reference. And our weekly constituent walk-ins are also available every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Brooklyn Borough Hall. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and I'll also drop in my personal email or into the chat as well.
Thank you, Manyak. Any questions for the Borough President's office?
Okay, I have Jane from Senator Chu's office. Jane, please unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jane Duong. I'm the Chief of Staff to Senator Ewan Chu. Happy to have everyone here. Just want to give you a couple of updates from our office. So our office continue our mobile office hour from Wednesday through Friday while we're searching for a permanent location. So on Wednesday, we are at the Chinese American Planning Council on 41st Street and 8th Avenue. On Thursday, we're at New Utrecht Library in Bensonhurst area. And on Friday, we are in the McKinley Library on Fort Hamilton Parkway. So the information is on our website, and people feel free to walk in. We don't require appointment. If you can make it to our mobile office hour, please feel free to reach out by phone or by email. Our phone number is 718-333-0311. I'll put that information in the chat later. There are a couple of events that our office is doing. We are providing free text prep for seniors and low-income families. There are still a few appointments for the day of April 9th. If anyone needs these services, or if you know any of your friends, family who needed this service, feel free to give our office a call. We can make the appointment for you. Another event that our office is doing is a home utility assistance event. We're gonna have two events actually. One is on March 20th, and it's gonna be held at El Central. The address is A711 18th Avenue. And the other one is March 22nd during our office hour at the Chinese Planning Council location at 41st Street and 8th Avenue. People can bring their bills. They can bring their electric bills, the gas bills. If they have any dispute with the bill, we will have Con Edison. We're going to have National Grid and also HeartShare here to help them dispute any bill that is not correct. They can also apply for HEAP or any heating assistance through these agencies. So we are asking people to bring their ID, their utility bills, proof of HEAP or public assistance, and income information to the event if you would like to access those services. I will put our office information in the chat. If you want to get more information about the event, feel free to give us a call or email us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jane. Any questions for the Senator's office? Great, thank you so much, Jane.
Julio, that's the end of my list.
We have a couple of others, actually. We have Frida Zarita. Frida, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. This is Frida, Senator Myrie's Director of Special Projects. Just a quick update. So we had our State of the District 2 weeks ago. We had performances from across Senate District 20, a couple of guests, and a ceremonial swearing in by District 20's very own Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. So in some of Senator Myrie's remarks, he spoke about the many accomplishments that he and the office have been able to accomplish, along with some of the priorities for the upcoming state budget negotiations. And so he's extremely, and the office is extremely proud of the work that we've done to pass the nation's strongest voting rights law, the first state level gun industry accountability law, and the most robust tenant protections in a generation, and important reforms to our criminal legal system. There's still a lot more work to be done, from taking on the biggest and most irresponsible fossil fuel companies and protecting our kids from a multi-billion-dollar campaign to get them hooked on junk food, to also standing up for our safety net hospitals and building on our progress to make our state more fair and more just. Again, there's a lot of work ahead. And so Senator Myrie is truly appreciative of the community, of all of our constituents in the district, and he carries the spirit of the community with him to Albany as he is in session. We also introduced last week the Predatory Marketing Prevention Act, PMPA for short, which is his bill to restrict the marketing of unhealthy junk food to young people. Kids in our community suffer disproportionately from the health effects of poor diet, leading to a lifetime of heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and many other problems. And so this legislation seeks to use the same tools we've used to restrict alcohol and tobacco advertising to kids and restrict marketing that is false or deceptive when it comes to health and nutrition. And finally, we also, this week, we had the Senate Cities Committee advance Senator Myrie's bill to speed up utility repairs at NYCHA, where many residents can be without gas, electricity, or hot water. Sometimes it's all three for months or even years. And so this legislation requires NYCHA, city and state agencies, and the utility companies to work together to make repairs faster, with utility companies facing daily fines if they don't make progress. So those are our legislative updates. We also, just some quick district office updates. We have, we do our constituent services Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We do it by appointment. So we do ask our constituents in the community who do need assistance to call our office number, 718-284-4700. And then we also have our beloved partner, CUF, Churches United for Fair Housing. A representative from their office is in our office every Wednesday from 12 to 6. So those are all the updates for me. Thank you and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Frida. Any questions for the Senator's office? Thank you again, Frida.
Anastasia Yaskova from the Mayor's Office of Community Assistance Unit. Anastasia, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Anastasia Yaskova from Community Affairs Unit, the Office of the Mayor. Great to be here. Just a quick reminder that Summer Youth Employment Program is currently open and enrollment deadline will be for youth is March 31st and for employers is May 26th. All the information can be found on the YCB website. And as always, appreciation and many thanks to the chair and great job in supporting the community. And happy to assist and serve you whenever assistance is required. Please feel free to reach out. Thank you very much and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you, Anastasia. Any questions for the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs? Great. Thank you again.
I believe that's it, Natasha.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Alrighty, so moving to the chair's report. I only have one item this evening. I did want to mention earlier this week I met with the borough president and some of his staff to talk about the priorities of what this board has been doing and some priorities moving forward. As you can imagine, we talked a lot about transportation. It is on everyone's mind. And the BP's office was very excited to hear the work that this board has been doing and is very supportive and wants to be very supportive of any of our efforts. So I just wanted to share that work and their enthusiasm. I will say one of the things we definitely talk about, as I've mentioned before, and Katie has mentioned, that a lot hangs on really the state's involvement in BQE South and BQE North. That really hangs on the balance, and we're really asking a lot of our elected officials to really step up and push them to be at the table, as well as our community partners, who many of you know, such as Uprose, Fifth Avenue Committee, African American Association New York, to really lean on the state to also get involved so that we can have meaningful change along the waterfront. So BP's office was very excited to hear that work. And that's pretty much it. Unless anyone has any questions, I will turn it to Jeremy. Take it away, Jeremy.
Thank you. I'm joined by Fenster. Sam Sierra actually found him in the community board parking lot. Good evening, everybody. February 28th, I provided testimony before the New York City Council Government Operations Committee, along with 10 other district managers in a meeting regarding community boards, both appointments and which borough presidents provided testimony, and for community board needs. We coordinate our testimony. I provided testimony on the need for interpretation and translation services, as well as the need for office security for every community board. Following up with that, on March 9th, I, along with 9 of my colleagues, met with the Civic Engagement Commission representatives, and we discussed the specific needs that we have for interpretation and translation services. From that, they're developing a survey for all community boards, which we had some input on. So hopefully we are moving forward to perhaps in the coming year, be able to provide particularly needed interpretation services at our meetings. The BQE South workshops have already been mentioned, so I'll just briefly say again, they are March 21st at PS24 at 6:30 p.m. And the virtual is March 30th at 6:30 p.m. Information was posted on that in the chat. The Third Avenue workshops are coming up on April 18th at PS24 at 6:30 p.m. and April 27th at PS 503 at 6:30 p.m. I believe we put out the flyers for that one. We still have to do our larger email for that. But again, this, as Katie mentioned, this is something we have been asking for 20 years. Hopefully the kickoff something we've been asking for. The Social Security Administration is announcing they are finally reopening the Brooklyn Social Security Card Center at 154 Pierpont Street. You no longer have to go to Manhattan to get your Social Security card. They're open 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. They encourage people to start the process online and then visit the center within 45 days. We have contact information for anybody who's interested in getting their Social Security card. Earlier today, I met with National Grid, who informed me that they will soon be starting the Brooklyn Backbone South inspection of several sections of the National Grid pipeline in boards 6, 7, and 10. In board 7, this is done by federal code and is supposed to be done every 6 to 7 years. In board 7, there are 2 sites at 39th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue across from the highway exit. That should be starting April 10th and lasting about 3 days. They will have to do excavation as part of this, but you are going to see a pipe coming out of the street. They are testing these pipes for damage so that they don't have leaks in the future. This is a required inspection. The second site is 39th Street. 37th Street, just off of 5th Avenue, so between 4th and 5th, which has been dug up numerous times in the past year, across from the Jackie Gleason garage. And that is going to be in August. They did not have an exact date for us. I told them I would like them to reach out, in addition to the residents in the area, the local public schools, PS24, the new school on 5th and 36, whose number I cannot remember, the charter school on 39th Street between 3rd and 4th, as well as the Jackie Gleason garage, because of course there have been complaints in the past about the smell of natural gas coming from that garage, and also Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Development for the industrial area. After 5 p.m., so I don't have much information on this, we sent out mailers previously that the Department of Social Services was going to have a public meeting on April 12th in the community. We put out notices to everyone, and after 5 p.m. today, they canceled that meeting. So I don't have information on why that's been canceled or if it is going to be rescheduled, but I will be reaching out to them tomorrow to find that out. Liquor licenses, since the last meeting, there have been 12 new and renewal licenses And the police department statistics have been emailed to all of you as part of the packet.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions from board members? Pat?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can speak up just a tad bit.
Jeremy, do we have any future meeting schedules or plans with the precinct?
A week from Monday, so I believe that's, or actually, Natasha, what is the date? Is it Monday? Is it the 20th? I believe it's Monday, Pat. If you give me a moment, I will go check our site and make sure of that, but I believe it's Monday.
Yes, it's Monday, the 20th.
Okay, thank you. So it's on the calendar.
I assume there's been an email sent out that I probably haven't seen yet.
It has been sent out.
I'll look. Thank you.
Katie?
I have a question. I've lost the lead on this, but about the library space and what that will become. And I know we've talked about having that become community space or what the future would be and not having. Is that something that has come up recently in any discussions?
I have no updates on that.
Is that a thing that we've asked for?
It is, I can answer that, Jeremy. That is something that this board has asked for several times. I do know that Voces Ciudadanas is actively moving and has been surveying residents and is talking and engaging people on that. But it will take far more from this board to engage on that, because it will need the city government to act on that.
And doing nothing, it goes back to the police precinct?
To my knowledge, yes.
And do we know when the date is when the library is meant to move out?
I believe the library will probably be moving out in 12-ish months.
So maybe this can be a follow-up discussion. I think it's a beautiful space, and something that we desperately need is more community space. And we certainly need a bigger boardroom at some point, but that's not about us. I just want to make sure that we're talking about this.
Agreed. Any other questions? Okay, old business. Edward did want to add on the library space, so I'm gonna allow him to comment.
Hey all, I'll be brief because I know it's a long meeting. So PD, it's PD's space. We did meet with them and spoke to some of their operation folks. They say that long term they are, ultimately going to need it because of decisions from the admin. And their rationale was that the admin has instructed all city agencies to lower their footprint, and insofar as like office space. So then the library and that building, comes into play. But they did say that they have an openness to hear the community out as to what they want to see done there, for like 2 or 3 years, once the BPL moves out. So Chair, you're correct in that Javier and Voces Ciudadanas has mostly been doing this. And I think that this is where the organizing challenge of it is that no one, who can convene all these folks together. So I think, Katie, if you want, we can talk and I can connect you to Javier, because it is something that I think they were doing a survey last year, but again, building it out and who gets to say finally, this is what we want to see here. I think it needs to be a community driven process. And again, the challenge is who's organizing that and pushing that body of work forward. So yeah, happy to talk offline and continue this conversation.
Thank you, Edward. Any old business? Sam Sierra?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
So I just wanted to remind and also raise the concern I shared. I believe it was during the November meeting. It was a quality of life issue pertaining to Fifth Avenue. We had conversation, we discussed putting together a task force, but not really a task force to address these issues that need to be addressed on Fifth Avenue. You know, we have a perceived anything goes environment on Fifth Avenue by the businesses on Fifth Avenue. I recall that there used to be some city ordinance where it stated that you couldn't put things in front of your store more than 3 feet. If you walk on Fifth lately, the only 3-foot rule that folks are adhering to is the 3-foot space between the produce in front of the store and the produce along the curb. This is getting worse for us. I have right now in front of me 16 addresses of businesses that have things more than 6 feet out in front of their store. And this is just getting worse and worse, and no one is telling anybody, you cannot do this. You know, the worst offenders, produce on 58th Street and 5th, 49th Street and 5th, the same owner, they've been spoken to. What's happened? They have hunkered down, and they have now built a permanent shelter around all their produce, extending the store. So they're extending their store. They're not paying more rent. They're not paying taxes. They're inconveniencing me. I'll say me. So I think we're at a point where we need to address these things. We know the problem is enforcement. We have an issue with sanitation enforcement, not happening. Traffic enforcement, same thing, not happening. These are issues of enforcement. And it would seem that nothing is being done. I'm seeing more and more merchandise on the sidewalk than inside the stores. This is getting really dangerous, and you know, and nobody wants to talk about it. People want to act like it's not happening. It's happening, and we need to address it. So I just wanted to bring that up as a reminder that I think it behooves us all to get ourselves together and start to address these concerns. And these are things that are well within our control to address. I think I stated that, I think in November as well. But we're too busy going to put our energies and voices to concerns where we only have advisory status. But here in our own backyard, this has been happening already for the past 2 years. It's just getting worse. And it needs to be addressed. And I'm sorry if I was venting, but I think it's important. This is happening. So I just want to share that, and thanks for the time.
No, thank you, Sam, for re-elevating that. And that's something that we can absolutely revisit. And let's circle back to that and figure out how we can address it in a way that I have concerns about the enforcement piece, because I don't necessarily think that is always the best way, but I do think there is a way to absolutely address the safety concern and education piece.
Yes, thank you for that. It certainly warrants discussion.
Yeah, and let's figure out the best way to tackle that.
I'll reach out. Thank you.
Edward, I'm going to give you one last
No, thank you, Chair. I mean, we do a lot here. So, but this one in particular, I want to thank Anastasia, because we did reach out to the mayor's office, because the building that the business that Sam is talking about has been a bad actor repeatedly. He's been talked to David Estrada multiple times. Our office has reached out to him, and this is Macareno, I believe that and NYU's concern was that the clinic is right up the block, and like folks with wheelchairs are going into the street against oncoming traffic to get to the clinic because of how bad it is there. So again, we're meeting with the mayor's director of quality of life, which again, I want to thank Anastasia for connecting us to. And we really want to convene like an interagency response here because it's not Macarena only, it's the other fruit shop across the street that are just like particularly bad actors. So I'll send you the something, Julio, so you can be involved and kept abreast of the situation. But Sam, just know we've been calling 311 and a bunch of agencies on these two businesses, and I think that like they're just not, but they're just bad actors at this point. That's what we would categorize them at.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Jerry?
Hey, thank you. Sam, just want you know, we have the same problems in A Avenue for the last 3 to 4 years, and it's getting worse. I have raised a concern to small SBS and DCWP and the local precincts and stuff. Nothing they could do. DCWP keep telling me that they don't have enough resource for this. And the precinct, since Officer Lee retired, right? No one is really enforcing on the A Avenue about this issue. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to get involved if you want me to continue helping you try to figure out a solution to this. I am talking to SBS pretty much daily, and it's not just happening on neighborhood. It's happening in Queens, happening in Manhattan. Everyone is having the same problem. Everyone's raising the same concern to SBS. Nothing they could do because DCWP need to come and enforce it. They only have six inspectors for the whole entire city.
Wow. Oh boy, thanks for that info. Wow.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other new business, old business? New business. I see Marilyn waving her hand, then I'll go to Cindy.
Hi. So I don't know who to address the local law 97 to. I don't know what we're going to do about it because this law is going to bankrupt these buildings. You know, they're going to get they want us to replace heating systems in buildings that are 80, 90, 100 years old with heat pumps and all kinds of fines. Is anybody addressing this? This is ridiculous. The people who live here are not millionaires. They're teachers, nurses. The maintenance is going to go up like double. They say that some of the council members are trying to introduce a bill to delay it. I would say kill it or grandfather in the buildings. They're already built. You're going to pull out all the plumbing and everything? That's nuts. Sorry.
Thank you, Marilyn. I do think that there needs to be some education around local law 97, and maybe that's something that this board can work on with either elected officials or even some other organization. So that's something that we can look into for.
Okay, keep me in mind on that because
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
I was president of my co-op a long time and they're concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy?
Yeah, I would like to, I don't know if I need a motion for this, but to update the agenda to make sure that it reflects the correct address for the vote that we took, 155 18th Street. Do I need to motion for that?
Thank you for addressing. Am I frozen? No, I'm not. For addressing that. If there are no objections to making sure to editing the change in the address, 155 18th Street. Seeing or hearing none, thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Antoinette?
Hi, so just really quickly, I'm a member of the Economic and Waterfront Committee, and other committee members have expressed an interest in meeting more regularly to talk about things like the Meet in New York campus, Pier 6, the $5 million Clean Energy Community Grant, and a number of other topics. However, there really hasn't been clear communication with the chairs for when the next meeting would be and the frequency of meetings, and also talking about priority setting or agenda setting. And I was just curious if these items aren't discussed within the context of this committee, if the executive committee could consider hosting or forming an ad hoc committee to hold space for these conversations.
So the executive committee, I can consider other agenda items. We've done that in the past. We typically don't or wouldn't convene other committee meetings, but I can definitely have conversations with committee chairs just to talk about committee meetings, and that's something I can work with folks offline about.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Jerry?
Yes, I don't know what this is considered as new business and stuff, but with the lift of restriction on COVID and stuff, should we think about or talk about going to have in-person meeting going forward?
I didn't quite catch that. What was that?
So with the pandemic restriction lifted, that means you could go into places without vaccine card or mask and stuff. Can we somehow talk about in-person meeting going forward?
So thank you for bringing that up. At the next executive committee meeting, we're editing the agenda to include a hybrid meeting resolution, so that we can grant hybrid meetings. So stay tuned on that. So we're working on it. Damaris?
Hi, I wanted to agree with Antoinette, but also reminds everybody that for the grant for the Windshore Farms at Equinor and so forth, that deadline is approaching like really, really fast. It's going to be April 1st. So, and from the last meeting that I was on with them, we don't really have a lot of applicants. So we were trying to get a lot of applicants, at least from this area from Sunset Park. So I think it's worth a discussion or maybe a meeting like soon.
Thank you. And if there's, I guess, any information about that, we can share with the board. Are there any other new business items? Okay, public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak, please raise your hand. I see several hands up, so Jeremy, if you can assist, please.
Sure. I have Roxana Benavides first. Roxana, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. This is Roxana Benavides. I'm the branch manager at the Sunset Park branch, 5201. I'm sorry, I'm moving. 4201 4th Avenue. I wanted to thank also from Mr. Serna from the office of our council person Aviles for bringing up the issue of the budget cuts proposed to libraries, and that there will be a hearing on Monday at City Hall in the morning. Also want to bring up the programs that we have. Is teen writing contest submission accepted will be all of March. New York City writers in grades 6 to 12 are invited to submit poetry and prose to BPL teen writing contest. There is a cash prize for $500 for the first place, and for a total of about $3,000 for in prizes. Team can stop at different branches, including Sunset Park, for a kit that includes a notebook, pen, and some other writing prompts. This is while supplies last. I want to also highlight that we also have a program specifically for teenagers on Fridays from 4 to 5 o'clock is our Teen Tech Time, where we have different video games and also board games and other activities specifically for teenagers. Another initiative that we are participating in the 50th anniversary of hip hop. BPL is joining with other fellow city library systems in over 30 cultural institutions to celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip hop. More announcements will be coming now in the spring, but already Sunset Park initiated the participating in celebrating this the 50th anniversary. We are actually showing the film screening of Fight the Power, which is the history of hip hop. Is a docu-series of about 4 parts, but each of the parts it's on Tuesday, has been shown every Tuesday evening at 5 o'clock. We also want to highlight the homework help that we have in person every Wednesday between 3 and 6 p.m. This is available for up to grade 8th grade. For those who do not are not able to come to the library, then we also have the database in they can have access with the library card to BrainFuse Help, and that is available for homework help resources, but also for live connection to a tutor, available from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. Also our programs for children, of course, always beginning with our story times every Wednesday at 10:30. Every other Wednesday, one session in English, and then the following Wednesday will be La Hora Mágica, which is in Spanish.
Roxana, would you please
yes.
wrap up?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Roxana. I have Mina Hong next. Mina, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Mina Hong, and I'm just going to piggyback off of my colleague, Roxana Benavides. I'm also a Brooklyn Public Library staff member. I am the assistant branch manager at Windsor Terrace Library, located at 160 East 5th Street on the corner of Fort Hamilton Parkway and East 5th Street. I will drop a couple of links to our calendar of events in the chat, but I would also like to highlight system-wide, we are having senior debates. So if you know of any older adults looking to flex your debating skills, you should join the senior debates team at BPL. This is a hybrid program with the first sessions occurring on Zoom, but there are also in-person options. And this program will be running for 3 months on Tuesdays from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it will culminate in the senior debate tournament at BPL's Central Library. And all participants will receive a copy of the book, On the Other Hand, written by the founder of the Association for Senior Debate. For local programming, I wanted to highlight our drop-in Scrabble program for adults at 10:15 a.m. on Thursdays. It's a casual, informal program. You can drop in, and we are getting a regular group of people. So if you would like to challenge your Scrabble skills with some other adults from the community, please join us. We also have a one-on-one tech help program every Tuesday and Thursday. You can come, sign up, book a 30-minute slot, and ask all of your tech-related questions. And you have a whole 30 minutes devoted to you. We also have a mindfulness meditation program led by our community member, Phyllis Trout, on Saturday, March 25th at 11:30. And I also wanted to highlight our board game library. Windsor Terrace Library is now has a board game collection. So members of the public can come check out board games, take them home, play with them, return them, just like you would check out a book, a DVD, or other library materials. And I will drop all the links in the chat for all the programs that I mentioned. And this concludes my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. Julio, I also have a couple of board members. Should I call them? Would you like to call them?
Yes, please. Thank you.
I have Jimmy Lee first.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jimmy Lee, president of New York Team Up, a nonprofit whose mission is to connect and unite New York City communities through dialogue, cultural celebrations, and education. Last month, we held a multicultural Lunar New Year celebration in Fifth Avenue. New York Team Up, we partnered together with Sunset Park BID, Sunset Park Lions and Leo Club, Council Member Alexa Aviles, United Volunteers, Brooklyn Latin Network, the Village of Sunset Park Empowerment Center, OLPH, United Senior Citizen Center, PA Lante, Ambassadors of Peace and Social Justice, and Pakistani American Youth Organization. The event was a huge success. We gave out thousands of Lunar New Year gifts to families and children, in addition to lion dance and other cultural performance. Many faces on that day. Huge thanks to 72nd Precinct for their support and help in making that event a success. Big thanks to Sunset Park BID and all our sponsors as well. I hope this will be a new tradition for Sunset Park, where neighbors, friends, and families celebrate our Sunset Park's cultural diversity all together. Let's bring people together to learn about each other's traditions, cultures, and more. After all, we are one New York, one community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. I have David Estrada next.
Just unmuting. Hello. Hi, thank you. I'm David Estrada. I run the Sunset Park Fifth Avenue Business Improvement District, serving between 38th and 64th Streets. We've recently completed, in cooperation with Asian Americans for Equality and the Brooklyn Chinese American Association, a new Sunset Park Community District Needs Assessment that was validated with field surveys last year, and is available online, and I'll drop a link into the chat about that. Because of recent funding from New York City and the City Council that supports the very smallest bids throughout New York City, we now have funding to do a special graffiti push in April to cover tree pits on Fifth Avenue and nearby, and to support volunteer events throughout the summer. We have an open call for muralists and ideas and locations for murals. We can fund murals now. I'm actively interviewing artists and mural project coordinators, both from Sunset Park and elsewhere, but if you're connected to some or are one, please contact us. We also have an open call for celebrating businesses that have been here for more than 50 years, 50 years, who can receive historic business designation from New York State. And I want to mention something that's a real bummer. I'm sorry, rats and trash. But on April 1st, the Department of Sanitation is changing strictly the rules for all residential and all businesses that place trash out for collection. That's whether it's picked up by commercial carters or by the Department of Sanitation. The rules are strict. You can find out information at nyc.gov/set-out-times. There is no grace period. The outreach from DSNY has been abysmal, and I think many of our businesses don't know about this, but April 1st is a big change in how we handle trash, primarily to help control rats. Lastly, I'd just like to say thank you to Jimmy Lee. It was a beautiful event, and we're looking to build more annual events in Sunset Park, open to ideas. Catch us at info@sunsetparkbid.org with any of your ideas for volunteers, events, or graffiti cleanup spots or mural spots and 50-year businesses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Seeing and hearing no other public comment, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Ciao, have fun.